Good afternoon to all of you. Uh, what a full house it is this afternoon. Let me welcome all of you to the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. My name is Ledger Budweni. As you all know, I'm the Minister of Information, Culture, Affairs, and Tourism. I called you all here this afternoon because of a very concerning issue with respect to Liberia's staple rice. And so, the Minister of Commerce and Industry, the Honorable Mawani Dix, the lady name is Mawani Dix, will now come to the podium to address you all. Thank you very much for coming, and let's get the ball rolling.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Yes, yes.
All right, wonderful. All right, let's just thank you all for your patience, first of all, as the Minister of Information indicated. So we'll just go right into it. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, let me welcome all of you to the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. It is my hope that the gathering here today will be used to inform our people across the country and beyond about activities within the commerce of our country. Let us begin this engagement with the issue of rice. I want to state clearly that there is absolutely no shortage of rice on the market, and therefore there is no need for panic buying as we have observed. The wholesale price of rice remains at 13 United States dollars, and there is a sufficient stock of rice in the country. Reports reaching the Ministry of Commerce and Industry suggest that individual businesses are selling at exorbitant prices and in some cases hoarding this commodity, thus creating an artificial scarcity on the market. In efforts to mitigate or determine the veracity of these reports, the Inspector Bureau of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry will deploy inspectors across the country to enforce the approved prices of commodities on the market. It is important to note that collectively, the 5 major importers of rice, which are SWAT, K&K, UCI, FUTA, and Fuani, have approached the government of Liberia on the need to increase the price of rice by 2 United States dollars as a result of multiple global supply chain challenges, particularly the drastic increase in freight charges. However, the rice importers have committed to continue the wholesale of rice to local retailers. As part of the mandate of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, we have been closely monitoring the global economic shock due to the COVID-19 pandemic. As a result, in January of this year, the Bureau of Trade began closely monitoring freight increases along with importers to specifically include rice importers. Therefore, we can verify that there has been a significant increase in the cost of freight, which has direct impact on the trade and commerce of our country. This is clearly reflected in the local market in terms of availability and pricing of commodities on the market. The government of Liberia has taken note of this and is currently engaging with the 5 major importers of rice and all relevant stakeholders to ensure that rice remains available and affordable. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry encourages all retailers to buy and sell as normal and be reassured that there is no shortage, and the government of Liberia is taking all necessary steps to ensure that they continue to conduct business as usual. The government of Liberia is cognizant of the high cost of rice in our neighboring countries, ranging from 17 United States dollars to 37 United States dollars for a 25 kg bag of rice. Therefore, it is important that rice bought at the current wholesale price of 13 United States dollars within the borders of Liberia are not sold or traded across into neighboring countries in an attempt to make a significant profit margin. To all citizens, you are asked to notify the Ministry of Commerce and Industry of any incidents of price hike or hoarding within the market. Your cooperation and support is critical in ensuring the control of prices on the market. Although this is not the intended purpose or subject matter of this press engagement, let me also use this opportunity to provide some information on the regulatory processes surrounding the importation of all commodities, including frozen products. As the regulatory body for trade, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry utilizes the import notification form called INF as a means of ensuring that the goods brought into the country and traded on the local market meets health, safety, and industrial standards required for utilization and consumption. The import notification form regime also requires that those with the desire to import perishable commodities, particularly frozen products, must have the capacity to store and the ability to sell within the lifespan of such products. Let it be made clear that the market is open to all interested in trading, provided that they meet the regulations as provided by law. To address specific concerns regarding frozen products, it is important for the public to know that these commodities have a wholesome lifespan of maximum 2 months to be deemed fit for consumption. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry is tasked with the responsibility to ensure the health of the general population, and therefore the quantity of frozen products brought into the country on a monthly basis are approved to meet the overall market consumption as determined by the Ministry of Commerce. This allows us to ensure that the burden of expired products being sold does not shift from importers to local marketers and the innocent consumers, thus preventing any potential health crisis that may arise. There is also no shortage of frozen products on the local market. To further ensure the free flow of trade and the rightful participation of Liberians in the retailing of all goods as prescribed by law, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry has notified all those involved with importing, distributing, and retailing of commodities in the commerce of Liberia of their violation of Section 9.1 and 9.2 of Article 9, Importer of Record, Part 3 of the Amended General Business Law, Title 14 of the Liberian Code of Law Revised. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry has taken this measure in order to reinforce the government of Liberia's commitment that there will not be an unfair advantage to Liberians involved in retailing. To conclude, I would like to reassure the public that there is no shortage of rice or frozen products on the market. Therefore, no one should engage in panic buying or price hiking. Marketers are encouraged to buy and sell normally. Importers and distributors are encouraged to sell normally. Additionally, the government of Liberia will remain engaged with the 5 major importers of rice to ensure that rice is available and affordable. The public will be kept informed of these engagements as they progress. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry remains committed to its regulatory function of ensuring that goods brought into the country meet health, safety, and industrial standards required for utilization and consumption. Moving forward, the Inspector Bureau of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry will conduct robust inspection across the country to ensure compliance. We again encourage the public to report any noticeable hike in prices or hoarding commodities on the market. To the media, we want to thank you for remaining engaged in the activities of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry and ensuring accurate reporting of information to the general public. Let me also use this opportunity to encourage you to continue to utilize the official channels of information gathering through the Public Affairs Department of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. And finally, I want to thank His Excellency Dr. George Wanawia for the leadership and support afforded us thus far. To the dedicated and hardworking staff of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, I thank you for your continuous commitment and service to country. Additional thanks to my colleagues across government for the cooperation in ensuring that we deliver on the President's Core 4 agenda. Thank you.
Well, so that was the voice of the Commerce Minister. She spoke on the recent reported shortage of rice on the Liberian market. And as disclosed by the minister, there's absolutely no shortage of rice on the Liberian market, and Liberians are advised to report cases of individual business owners hacking or increasing the prices of rice at their different business places.
After five questions.
I'm Anthony Gray. I work for ECOWAS Radio. My name is Anthony Gray. I work for ECOWAS Radio. Honorable Minister, I'm concerned with the hiking of prices of rice. Considering our local people that do not buy the rice with bag, they just buy it per cup. Is the ministry having standards for a cup of rice on the Liberian market?
Yes, thank you for the question. So one thing to realize, when we look at the sale of rice, we look at it from two angles. We look at it from the level of importation, which is sold at the wholesale level, and then at retail. And what we have noticed on the market and what we're assessing in the reports that we have gathered is that there is a significant increase on the retail side, although the wholesale side remains the same at $13. And that is why we have to put together a strict regime, which we have already structured from our inspector group to enforce, so that those that are buying at the retail per bag or cup, as you indicated, are buying at a fair and marketable price. So we will, within the coming days, announce what the maximum price should be on a bag of rice, on a cup of rice. So the inspectors will be full out into all of the markets of the country to ensure that that regulation is occurring.
Okay, thank you, Madam Minister. I'm Sylvester Chidoplen, I report for Fabric of the Spoon Communications.
Speak up, please.
Honorable sir. I'm Sylvester Chidoplen, I report for Fabric of the Spoon Communications Network. Last month, the Commerce Committee at the House of Representatives toward the Freeport of Monrovia and some rice producers like UCI SOAT complained as challenges the increment of tariff at the Freeport of Monrovia. Why is the ministry doing to make sure that their challenges is being addressed? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So in terms of importation, there are key charges that the importers have made us aware that we are aware of. So you have charges for their own shipping. So you have freight, you have renting of the vessel, which leads to demurrages. And then we have APM terminal, we have MPA charges, then they have the stocking, the loading, all of those charges are combined. They have brought to our attention that there are some issues in terms of APM terminal gradual increases in price, which has gone from $11 and change to now $14.43. And so we have engaged APM terminal in terms of what can be done, understanding that there are global implications there in terms of the overall supply chain. So what can we do to ensure that our staple commodities are protected? And that includes prioritizing of rice vessels as they come into the port of Liberia. So yes, we are aware, the importers, as I said, we have remained engaged with importers. So we're not at this point because it caught us by surprise. This is something that the ministry, through the Bureau of Trade and Commerce, has remained engaged with our importers, and we are cognizant of all of the factors that have led to this request by our importers to increase the price of rice. Although government is not at that point to increase, we are continuing to engage with importers and factoring in the charges that are at the port, the charges that are at APM terminal is a critical component of the engagement that we're currently having with the rice importers.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Peter J. Boinga. I work for BC Online Media Production Company.
Before being a journalist, I'm a Liberian. I do go to the market. I make purchases of rice. I eat it. Recently, I went to a couple of stores and I just couldn't find it. You are the official person to tell us and tell the country whether we have sufficient produce in our country. And then you have stated that we have lots of rice in Liberia. Then this tells me that there has been artificial shortages by these, suppliers and retailers. So what will you do now as the leading, authority on commerce in our country by these people?
Well, first of all, with the importers, we have made them commit to selling the product. So we will not ration out, but it's also important that people are not panicked by. Because you see, when the supply of rice comes, it's projected the period of time that it is here to supply the market. And if we have individuals that are panic buying, say, I'll give you an example. If you buy 300 bags of rice a week, and now all of a sudden in a day's time you want to buy 600 bags, if it is sold at that panic rate, it will deplete the supply because all that's happening, individuals are buying above what they normally buy in order to hoard it. They're buying it, they're keeping it, but forgetting that rice is a perishable commodity. And so it is illegal, people should not be hoarding. Now, it is our responsibility as the Ministry of Commerce and Industry to regulate that. So we have engaged with the importers that they have to sell as normal, and we're also putting our inspectorate out there so that they can identify, based on the reports we have received as a ministry, and make sure that compliance happens. So if we are to find businesses that are selling above the market price of rice or businesses that are buying and hoarding the rice, there will be penalties as stated by law within the confines, the regulatory confines of the Ministry of Commerce. So we will not hesitate because what we're seeing now is an artificial shortage, scarcity, because people are utilizing this opportunity. I think someone mentioned that members of the House went to the various warehouses. We have to understand that there are periods where vessels are coming in and they're offloading, so you may not see a particular quantity of rice within a warehouse, but you verify with the port, you verify, and that's why I said let's utilize the appropriate channels through the media arm of this institution to get the appropriate information. Because at any given time, on a weekly basis, we can tell you the buffer stock that is in country, so the exact quantity of rice that is in country amongst the various importers. We can tell you how long that quantity will supply the country, and then we can also inform you of vessels that have been approved and that are coming into the country to provide more rice. So let's go ahead and make sure that we get the appropriate information because we all have to play our part in ensuring that we are not spreading false information or passing on assumptions that are being made or encouraging those who are creating this artificial shortage which does not exist within our commerce regime. Rice is here, rice is available. And also, it's important to know that there are individuals who buy because they want excessive profit and they sell it to our neighboring countries. They transport it across our borders. Trade is a free flow, but we also have to take responsibility and understand that rice is a critical commodity within the Republic of Liberia. So how do we do a disservice to ourselves, the commodity that we are to consume? How do we take it and trade it because we want to make excess profit? So we all have to take responsibility within this concept and content of rice availability within the country.
We take two last question, then Minister Rennie will close us.
Good afternoon, Minister. My name is Jeff Jefferson. I report for Freedom FM. I'm concerned about the fact that this news about artificial shortage of the staple foods has been coming a couple of weeks ago. It is obvious that the ministry did not do what it was supposed to do to avoid this scare and panic that we are facing right now. Secondly, you talk about being robust now. It also speaks to the fact that you have not been robust in a couple, just in the near couple of weeks back. You've not been robust. Thirdly, what's the hotline so that people who have issues can call and say this is my issue. And the last is that our borders. Do you have the manpower? Are you working with the joint security to ensure? I was just coming here a couple of minutes. I saw that truck with rice and alcohol on it. The police got to stop them to the Boulevard Junction there. Are you working with the joint security to ensure that people are not taking our commodity out of the country? Like you said, the people want to maximize profits, so they are carrying our stable food across the country. Thank you very much.
Tell me your name again because you just asked 4 questions in one.
I'm Jeff
But don't worry,
Jefferson.
I'll answer all of them, Jeff, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So don't go far in case I forget one of the 4. So the first one, Minister of Commerce did not do its part to avert this.
Yes.
Well, it's difficult to avert something that doesn't exist. There is no shortage, so there was nothing for us to avert.
Thank you.
You know, it's irresponsible for citizens to create or put the assumption that there is a shortage. So there was nothing to avert because there is no scarcity or shortage of the commodity. Now in terms of robust, the Inspector Bureau carries out regular inspection. When I say robust, meaning this is the targeted focus. When we go on the market in terms of inspection of the Inspector Bureau, we're looking at various commodities and various factors within the inspection process. Because there is this particular focus on scarcity of rice, this robust special program is to identify those, because we have received multiple reports as a ministry and as a government that people are selling. So we have to first verify. So that is what this robust short-term engagement is. So the Inspector Bureau has continued, which it will always continue, to carry out its functions of its quarterly announced and unannounced inspections. Our inspectors are always on the field, but also understand that we have been in a period of a semi-regulatory health restrictions, correct? So we're mindful of how our inspectors have been within the field in the past couple of months, understanding the regulations that we have put in place. So that is also a factor. What's the third one?
The hotline.
Oh, yes. So we are working on reviving the hotline that existed. So we will share that with you all immediately once we've had it up and manned. Because the worst thing is to have a hotline and it's not appropriately manned and it defeats the purpose. So that information will be forthcoming latest Monday. And then your very last question.
Well,
The
you
border.
need to rice again a continuous flow of our rice across our borders.
Yes.
outside of
So
our
we have to understand that, we operate in a specific trade regime. In terms of ECOWAS, we have a specific regulations when it comes to trade. But we also have to understand that rice is a security matter, right? And so being able to, the responsibility to feed our people is a critical security matter. So at this point, we are encouraging individuals to not take rice across the country. And individuals trained at our border points know what is really leaving the country for just general purposes and what is leaving the country for trade. So we're going to rely on their expertise to be able to identify and clearly get some clarity from those attempting to cross border with goods. We are not saying that we are stopping trade across our borders in our ECOWAS region. That is not what we're saying, because we will be in violation. What we're saying is an appeal to all Liberians to have the interests of Liberia and Liberians in mind over a few dollars profits, because the security of our state matters. We don't want panic. We don't want a position where we cannot control or feed ourselves, because we all in this room consume rice or wheat or buckwheat as people are moving to it. But rice is our staple commodity, and we all have the responsibility to ensure that it stays within our borders and not be traded for a few dollars profit. Thanks so much.
Madam Minister, thank you very much. My name is Omar Salif, and I report for ABC Radio. I listened to you carefully, and then you made mention about your team of officers who are the inspector and the manner and form in which they do their work. I want to know if they are actually carrying on their duty. At what point did we derive at this particular point in time that the citizens are now panicking on the issue about the shortage of rest? If so, Madam Minister, what is the clearest message to those who are keeping our stable food and are creating the panic in the public?
Omar? You said Omar?
Omar Salif.
Omar, okay, thank you. So Omar, the inspectors are working. Can we buffer their efforts a bit more as a government and support them a bit more? Absolutely. We can absolutely do that to give them more logistics and more of what they need to carry out their functions, but they are working. So it's left for us to make sure they're empowered enough to fully carry out their mandate. So it's not that they're not doing it, but there's always room for improvement. There's always room for us to ensure that we do it better. And so, your second part, where are you, Omar?
The clear message
Yes.
to those who are keeping stable foods of this country.
It will not be tolerated. There are penalties under the law. We will not hesitate to seize and shut down businesses that are involved in creating a false scarcity, for creating an increase and hike in prices, and for those that are engaged in creating a panic within the Republic of Liberia. We will take a firm stance, and we hope that all of you in this room will understand and support us when we do that, because we do not want the media to be the very same to come back and say, oh, Commerce is taking this action against these individuals and they're Liberians. We are all Liberians. What they have created, the situation that has been created, is a threat to each and every one of us in this room. It's a threat to each and every one of us across the country, and we should take it seriously. We should frown upon, we should identify, and we should clearly notify the ministry of those that are involved in it. It is our responsibility as citizens in this country to make sure that nobody creates a situation that will lead us to any level of disruption or unrest within our borders. So, as the Minister of Commerce that is charged with the responsibility of making sure that there is a free flow of trade within the commerce of this nation, I will not hesitate to ensure that those that attempt to cause any panic will be brought to the full weight of the law. I think.
Last question.
You have dispensation.
Okay, good afternoon, Madam Minister. My name is Kelvin Demi of Prime FM. I had a conversation with a couple of importers a couple of hours ago, and they were able to finally know that rice in huge quantity is docked at the port of Monrovia. But they're having problems with APM terminals. I don't know how true is that information.
Oh, I can verify. I've been on the phone with the very same importers. Like I mentioned earlier, I guess in response to one of the questions, the concerns that importers have raised is that rice vessels are not prioritized. But a few days ago, we met with the APM terminal leadership to identify those concerns in terms of the increase in the fees that importers pay, in terms of the availability of the resources to appropriately offload, in terms of resources in terms of machinery as well as staffing, and also making sure that they prioritize those commodities that are critical to our day-to-day trade. And so this morning, I too got that call from importers that rice vessels that arrive have not been offloaded and other vessels are being prioritized over that. So we're actively working to solve that. So it is true. And so it is contradictory to the conversation that we held a few days ago with the leadership of APM Terminal. But we're not, people operate in different ways. So what we're making sure is not making the assumption that they're operating in the opposite of what we discussed. I'm understanding is that perhaps the information did not trickle down appropriately for individuals to understand that there was a conversation held a few days ago with our leadership and with the leadership of APM Terminal that rice vessels must be prioritized. And so we're taking it from that approach because at the end of the day, we are all partners. We're all partners in ensuring that there's a free flow of trade. So there are a lot, there are challenges that have been raised about APM Terminal, but we are working. The only way to resolve challenges that have been raised is to sit down on the table and dialogue and find a solution which is in the interest of Liberian people. And so in this situation, we're not panicking because we know that the leadership of APM Terminal has committed to ensuring that we do not have any barriers to trade and we don't have any hindrance to ensuring that our staple commodity of rice is available on the market.
Well, so that was the voice of the Minister of Commerce, she just spoke on
Minister Jakes.
the reported
I'm sure
shortage of rice on the Liberian market, and she clarified that rice is in country
press conference today. Certainly no
and
shortage of rice in
actions
Liberia.
will be taken
No shortage of rice.
on individual that might be
Want to say that again? The price of
found
rice
or
remains the same.
that might be
Wholesale
found in
$13, retail
the act of
$13.50.
hacking
The issue here, the government of Liberia
the price of
is
rice.
intervening with the importers to address their concerns, and we're asking all of us Liberians to remain patient. No panic buying. Nobody will have shortage of rice yet. Our food will eat already, same way. So nobody else should panic. We're talking to the importers. The government and the importers are talking. In the coming days or the coming week, you will hear more again. So that's the key message we want to send out here today. That there is rice in this country, and if you heard the minister say, and one of the journalists asked the question, rice shipped to the port. So it means more rice coming. So no rice will not be no rice will be short. The one who will get now in warehouse, it can reach us until November. So don't panic. Rice here, yeah. Behavior. I like to talk to the members of the press, media. Sometimes too, we can be responsible for some of these things, the way we talk it to our people. Then the people panic. So me, I can buy one bag of rice from my father, I'm going to buy 6. Another person buy 10. Another person buy 15. No, rest here. Don't rush. Nothing will happen. Government will make sure that every time rest will be here. Okay? We thank all of you for coming this afternoon, and we wish you a pleasant weekend. God bless.